Good evening, Pursuit. This is Jude. Thanks for having me speak today. This week, we're going to be delving into the book of John, chapter 11. And during the reading of this passage, we're just going to have two questions at the back of our heads. One of them is, has there ever been a time where you felt in a difficult situation and God has taken that situation and turned it into a positive one? And the second one is, has there ever been a time where you've asked God for something, but you felt that He's taking too long to do it, like you just keep waiting on Him? When we're waiting on God for requests for Him to do something for us, it can often feel as though He's taking too long to respond to us, or that He may not even be hearing us, whether it be healing for a family member, a new job, a new car, etc. In these situations, it can be easy for us to grow impatient, like the disciples were when Jesus was sleeping during the storm and later ended up saving them from the storm. Sometimes we may be asking for something we don't need at the time, or sometimes it could be something that we don't need at all. But in other situations, it could be that God is trying to teach us a lesson to wait on Him to reveal His capability of healing us and showing us the miracles that He could work in our lives, as we're about to see in the following passage. So we're going to start reading from verse 1. Now a man named Lazarus was sick. He was from Bethany, the village of Mary and her sister Martha. This Mary, whose brother Lazarus now lay sick, was the same one who poured perfume on the Lord and wiped His feet with her hair. So the sisters sent word to Jesus, "Lord, the one you love is sick." When He heard this, Jesus said, "This sickness will not end in death. No, it is for God's glory, that God's Son may be glorified through it." So Mary and Martha are requesting Jesus' help for their brother that's sick, because they know that He has the ability to work miracles as they've seen Him do. We know of Jesus' miracles through Scripture and how He's worked in people's lives that we know or people close to us. Any difficulty or hardship that we face is an opportunity for God to reveal Himself to us, which can help us to strengthen our faith in Him. And we've seen instances of this in Joseph's story and in Job's story. So let's continue. Now Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. So when He heard that Lazarus was sick, He stayed where He was 2 more days, and He said to His disciples, "Let's go back to Judea." "But Rabbi," they said, "a short while ago the Jews there tried to stone you, and yet you're going back." Jesus answered, "Are there not 12 hours of daylight? Anyone who walks in the daytime will not stumble, for they will see by this world's light. It is when a person walks at night that they will stumble, for they have no light." After He said this, He went to tell them, "Our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep, but I'm going there to wake him up." His disciples replied, "Lord, if he sleeps, he will get better." Jesus has been speaking of His death, but the disciples thought that He meant natural sleep. So He told them plainly, "Lazarus is dead, and for your sake I am glad I was not there, so that you may believe. But let us go to him." Then Thomas, also known as Didymus, said to the rest of the disciples, "Let us also go, that we may die with him." So Jesus, in this passage, it's very evident that He very likely, if He had made it on time, He would have healed Lazarus from his sickness. However, as we read previously, this is an opportunity for Jesus to display His healing power to us for His own glory and for God's glory. One may even go so far as to say that Jesus was giving a subtle foreshadowing of His own death. Just as He raised Lazarus from the dead for God's glory, He was also going to raise from the cross for God's glory as well. So let's continue. On His arrival, Jesus found that Lazarus had already been in the womb for 4 days. Now Bethany was less than 2 miles from Jerusalem, and many Jews had come to Martha and Mary to comfort them in the loss of their brother. When Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went out to meet Him, but Mary stayed at home. "Lord," Martha said to Jesus, "if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But I know that even now God will give you whatever you ask." Jesus said to her, "Your brother will rise again." Martha answered, "I know he will rise again in the resurrection at the last day." Jesus said to her, "I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live, even though they die, and whoever lives by believing in me will never die. Do you believe this?" "Yes, Lord," she replied. "I believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of God, who is to come into the world." And after she had said this, she went back and called her sister Mary aside. "The teacher is here," she said, "and is asking for you." When Mary heard this, she got up quickly and went to him. Now Jesus had not yet entered the village, but was still at the place where Martha had met him. When the Jews who had been with Mary in the house, comforting her, noticed how quickly she got up and went out, they followed her, supposing she was going to the tomb to mourn there. When Mary reached the place where Jesus was and saw him, she fell at his feet and said, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother wouldn't have died." When Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who had come along with her also weeping, he was deeply moved in the spirit and troubled. "Where have you laid him?" she asked. "Come and see, Lord," they replied. And Jesus wept. So, despite being the shortest passage of the Bible, John 11:35, saying Jesus wept, it packs a ton of meaning into it. So basically, we see Jesus, with all the healing power he has, weeping over Lazarus' death, regardless of the fact that he knows that he's going to be the one to heal Lazarus in the next couple of minutes. But he still sympathizes with Mary and Martha and the other people that are mourning his death with him. That goes to show the amount of humility that he has, because the fact that he's able to sympathize with them and feel their pain, and he doesn't undermine their feelings just because he already has a solution, shows that he's also showing his human side. He's like, besides the fact that he's a deity, that he's a god, he's showing the fact that he sympathizes with us in our times of weak seasons. Now, this passage had a happy ending. However, it does beg the question, why does God use something as grim as death to reveal himself to us? Why does God sometimes allow us to struggle before he turns our negative situations upside down into positive ones? The fact of the matter is, we can't always figure out the ways of God. However, I think we can all agree that it is easier to trust in God when everything is going smoothly. We seem to have everything figured out. And I believe that this is God's way of showing us that not only is he willing to help us maintain the positive things in our lives when our lives are going well, but he's also willing to give us healing and restore us in our weak and dry seasons. How we respond, like how we feel about God taking his time to respond to us, like whether we wait in patience or whether we're bitter and complaining during it, it can really help us to reevaluate our faith. So moving forward, I think it's important to remember that we may not always see the intentions of God when he's working in his timing, but I think it helps for us to learn to be patient and know that strength will rise when we wait on him.